my name is Ailwee and I'll be your tour guide today. Just a quick few announcements before we make our way into the cave. It's a natural formation, so we've low-lying ceilings and rocks sticking out from the sides. So at all times just mind your heads, okay? The floors are wet and can be a bit slippy, so just take your time and use the railings where provided. We have to cross 2 bridges in the cave and descend down 22 steps. When you do this, just mind your valuables and again take your time. The tour should take us to about 30 to 35 minutes and it's a 1 kilometre round trip. Now the first part of the cave is the worst, okay? So if you can make it through the first 50 metres, you'll be doing well, okay? Because the cave opens up a lot more after that. And if you're still feeling uncomfortable, at the first stop you can just turn around and walk straight back out and see you have lights all the way back behind you, okay? And if you have any problems after that, don't be afraid to let me know. This is a show cave also, so if you have cameras, you are allowed to take photographs and use your flash. Okay? So we'll make our way in. Just mind your head here. Now, so the cave was found here in 1940 by a local man named Jack McGann. He was out on the mountainside one day looking after a herd of cattle when his dog chased after a rabbit and disappeared down a hole. When Jack went looking for his dog, he noticed that hole was much deeper than he expected. So he got his dog back, they went on home, and later that evening Jack gathered up some candles and came exploring into the cave by himself. Now he would have crawled in here about 200 metres at the time on his hands and knees with just that candle to light his way. Years passed by and for some strange reason Jack never told anybody about finding the cave here until one evening in 1973 he was down in a pub in Ballyvaughan village having himself a nice quiet drink when some caving students from Bristol University arrived in. Now they got talking to Jack and they must have bought a few extra drinks because after 33 years, Jack spilled the beans and told them all about what he'd found here. So then they were quite excited to come in here and begin a survey of the cave and shortly after an excavation. So they would have removed mud and rock from this area and they uncovered these bear beds or hibernation pits. Now this was a massively exciting find here in Ireland because it wasn't believed any bears ever existed here. But they found out that these belong to the European brown bear, which has been extinct in Ireland for well over 1500 years due to deforestation and being hunted by man. Now you can still find the European brown bear in parts of Europe to this day. The bones you see there on your way in, they were carbon dated to be over 3,000 years old and they were found scattered in this area. They tell us now the bears have been using the caves a very long time, and the reason for that is because all year round there's a constant temperature in here of 10 degrees Celsius. So although it might seem a bit cold in here now today, you imagine during the winter when the outside temperatures are much colder, 10 degrees Celsius would then be nice and warm. So the bears would have made their way on in, snuggled up there in their beds and went off hibernating for the winter months. Now, so we've no more bears living in the cave, but we do have a family of bat living in the cave now, and they're known as the lesser horseshoe bat, and they're protected species here in Ireland, so we're quite happy to know we're helping with their growth and development. But you don't have to worry about bumping into them along the way, because they live in a different part of the cave, which is very dark and quiet, okay? Now we're going to make our way on to our next stop. We've got down a slight ramp, so just take your time and use the railing, okay? Just find yourselves here and use the railing. Ailwee from the local townsland here and the mountain above us. Ailwee is Irish for yellow cliff. I mean cliff and wee is for yellow. The rock the cave is formed from is limestone rock. This now began its formation about 360 million years ago when Ireland was actually located just above the equator and at that time submerged underneath a shallow tropical ocean. So the rock was formed when the dead sea creatures would have sank to the bottom of the ocean, decayed and been compressed together. So if you notice these white marks as we make our way along in the walls, they're actually fossils of the sea creatures back then. But unfortunately now we won't find any dinosaur fossils along the way, because this happened in a time known as the Carboniferous period, which was millions of years before the dinosaurs ever existed. This rock was created around the time coal that you burn your fire was created. Now if you look up along here, this upper part of the cave was the first to be formed. This was once a full circular tube which extends from the front door we walked in and will go all the way to the very back of the cave. This was created when that rock still remained underneath the ocean. Water would have trickled in and dissolved away the rock nice and slowly. What happened next was the land rose out of the sea and the water rolled the canyon downwards. So altogether it was shaped like a keyhole, round on top and then rectangular on the bottom. We moved up then and experienced the ice ages. After every ice age, when the ice melted, a river would have flown down through here, knocking out them canyon walls and making this area much larger. And that's why you see so much rock lying around and such jagged edges on the walls, because there's much more violent action. It's believed then between 10 to 12,000 years ago now the last ice age dried up. This allowed for these beautiful calcite features to begin to form here in the cave. This one here is known as a flow stone, and it got its name because it looks like it's actually flowing out from the stone towards us. These calcite features are formed when water from above mixes with the air, which creates carbonic acid. This then drips down through these cracks or fissures, dissolves away the limestone and picks up the mineral calcite. Then falls into this nice dry cavern, the water evaporates away and leaves the calcite behind, which hardens and builds up to what you see here now. Over here we have another flowstone formation, and just above there is quite a popular feature in the local area. Can anybody guess what might be named, what it looks like? Anybody? No? It's known as the praying hands. So it looks like two hands joined together in prayer. Just above here? Yeah. And just below is known as the curtains. And up here we have the upside down pig's ears. And here we have the lump of rasher. Now, we've all these lovely calcite features to be found here in the cave. We're going to make our way now on to our next stop. We have to cross our first bridge, so just take your time and mind your valuables. And also mind your heads on the right hand side as we've rocks sticking out, okay? So, this area of the cave is known as Cascade, and it got its name from this little trickle of water here. Now when we get many days of good heavy rain, this will transform into a massive waterfall that would soak anybody standing on the middle of the bridge. But no matter how much water actually flows into this lower cavern here, it never fills up, because there's underground rivers and streams that drains all this water away out to the sea at Ballyhawn. And if you look down here, just where I turn on this little light, when Jack crawled into the cave back in 1940 with just that candle slightly lit, he made it in this far because down on that rock there, he inscribed his initials on it just to prove it. Later on in 1973, when the caving students came in, they actually didn't make it any further than this point either, because beyond us in the cave was a massive boulder which blocked any further progression. So Jack done well for himself to get in this far back then. Now, if you look here, we have again another flowstone formation. This one got the nickname the Frozen Waterfall. Now, this one is much larger in size, not due to age, but because of the amount of calcite it's been constantly fed here in this trickle of water. And if you look up along here, we have these features known as our straws. They got the name straw because they're hollow in the centre and the water passes through the inside of them, basically like a drinking straw. These are the first stage in the formation of our true stalactites. And they're formed from rings of calcite which layer up over the years, on average taking between 80 to 100 years to form 1 centimetre. And if you notice these longer ones here at the back, they're getting quite long. When they often start reaching lengths like this, they can break and fall to the ground because they're so fragile they can't actually support their own weight anymore. Now, we're going to make our way on to our next stop. We have to go through an area in the cave known as the Squeeze. For a short time there's going to be concrete on the walls, because when they remove them boulders, They just had to reinforce the area to make it safe, and the ceiling gets a little low, so just mind your heads, okay? Now, if you look up here, we now have our features known as our true stalactites. They were given a nickname. Can anybody guess what they might look like?
Parsnips.
Yeah, you're right. They're known as the bunch of carrots, but we take parsnips also because they're coloured. Now they're formed when the straws, which we've seen previously, get blocked in the centre by a tiny bit of dirt or sediment, preventing the water moving through the inside, and it starts seeping out around the outside. Again, depositing the mineral calcite, which makes these features much stronger and then allows them to grow much larger into what you see here now. And what happens next is the water then will seep around the outside and gather here at the bottom and have a remnant of calcite left in it, which will fall to the ground and begin formation known as our stalagmite. So here we have a group of them. Now this process will repeat until one day they'll grow to meet one another to form a column or a pillar. And we have one back here. This one is made up of several stalactites and stalagmites which have grown together, and you get a better look at that when you walk by. Now here we have what's known as a broomstick stalagmite. So this got its name because it's quite tall and slender in comparison to the stalagmites you've seen back here. With this broomstick, they actually drilled a tiny hole into the basement, took out a sample and used uranium on it to date it. And it's over 8,000 years old and still growing to this day due to a tiny little straw just above it here on the ceiling, which still feeds that with calcite. Now, I'll let you in on a funny fact about these features. A lot of people, when they see these ones in particular, comment and say they look like wax or might have the consistency, they have the consistency of wax or might look like candles, but they're actually rock solid. But if you touch any of them, they're very fragile because the natural oil in your skin will kill them, because it prevents any more calcite ever clinging onto that feature again. And that's why we have the guardrails around them, just to protect them. And that's the same one for every calcite feature here in a cave. Now I want to give you a taste of what 100% complete darkness is like. So if you have electronic devices on, I'll ask you just to turn them off just for a couple of seconds or minutes.